Hey guys, gals, and NBs. Today I have a video as part of my sound design field guide, and we're going to be stacking delays. Specifically, I'm going to be stacking an analog voice delay into a tape delay to make some ambient textures and soundscapes. And I'll also be using the blooper to use it for some randomness and some reverse textures. A while back, I made a video about stacking delays. It was actually quite a few years ago, and I wanted to revisit it. And this time it's a little different because I'm going to be using two analog style delays, basically. I mean, a tape delay is analog, and obviously a Bucket Brigade device delay is analog as well. They're obviously digital, but they're voiced to be of that style, and I think it's going to sound really cool. But yeah, let's get started. So I have my Micro Freak here, and I have a patch I made a while ago, and it's a Kodo style patch. Yeah, it sounds really cool. It's using the digital oscillators. I believe it's using the modal oscillator. So no samples, just sounds really cool. And so that's going into the blooper. Then that blooper is going mono, obviously, into the Brig. The Brig is now making a stereo image. The stereo image of the Brig is going to go out into the Galaxy here, the Galaxy 74, and it's going to sound pretty cool. I'm using the Brig specifically because it's my favorite analog voice delay, as in terms of it's not specific. It doesn't emulate a specific analog Bucket Brigade style delay as the Starlight from Universal Audio does emulate a Memory Man, a deluxe Memory Man. This just kind of emulates the idea of a Bucket Brigade device, but it sounds so wonderful and ambient. I think it plays very nicely with this tape delay. But yeah, so that said, let's start with the multi-mode, which is a ping-pong style delay, and it uses a golden ratio on one of the taps. So here, obviously, it's dry. And you should be listening in stereo, obviously, but we already have such a beautiful soundscape there. And for the controls, I'm gonna back off on the filter a little. We're gonna make it a little dark. And I'm gonna bring up the mix to about 50-50, which is right around there. I'm gonna back off the mix just a little. Where I had it was nice. Went the repeats nice and high. Not self-oscillation, but where it can go days and days. And as you can hear how that dies off in the repeats, it's beautiful. I think maybe we want to engage the filter a little more. Oh yeah, there we go. That's how I like it. So I do this by ear. I mean, there are some ways you could do it a little more technically. If you had digital delays that had some kind of display for the time, I guess you could figure out the exact ratios. You could use like a silver or golden ratio between delays. But I just go by ear. We already know that the multi-mode has a golden ratio tap in it. But yeah, that sounds really cool. And now I'm going to disengage that, and we're going to listen to the Galaxy by itself. Okay, we're going to want to up the input drive on this, so I'm going to go to main controls. Let's get the input drive up. We really want to saturate the hell out of it. A little more feedback, maybe. Just a little bit more. Okay, so I have the time all the way up. Well, it's all the way down, which means the motor speed is the slowest, but that gives us the longest delay time. And I have heads 2 and 3 active, which are the farthest out heads. I should say I'm using the Galaxy over like a Volante or a El Capistan because I feel that the Galaxy is the best sounding space echo. While I like the Volante and the El Cap more in terms of their character, I don't think that they do an adequate job of emulating a real space echo. And this gets the closest. For the sound that I'm going for here, I want something that emulates a space echo. So, you know, the RE2 kind of does pretty well too. I mean, it should. It's a Boss pedal. I don't think it does as good as this, but yeah, so anything like that. So yeah, and the cool part about this is a true digital, sorry, I was going to say true digital. No, it's a true stereo pedal. So stereo in the full image is going to be kept in the repeats as well, which is great because we're feeding it a stereo signal from the Brig. So yeah, we just got a stereo spread. This has random stereo spread. I'm still not 100% sold on that. I don't really like it. I did send an email to Universal Audio to see if they could put that in as a feature to disable the random spread and let you have the spread on at all times for stereo, but you know, I haven't heard back. So they said they were going to look at it, but all right. So we're going to go into alternate controls. We're going to make sure the age is nice and up there so we get a lot of modulation. The second delay, whatever you use, I feel needs a lot of modulation. Maybe not that much. Oh yeah, there we go. We get that saturation. It's really good. All right, so let's go back to the main control so I don't forget. We're about 50-50 mix, I believe, as well. It might be noon on this, but maybe it's a little more. But whatever, it sounds great. We're going by ear. Okay. So, it's still a little too much modulation. Okay, that's fine. Let's try this. That's better. All right. Let's engage the Brig together with this. All right, and now we're getting the sound that I really wanted, and listen to how that just gives you smeary repeats. It sounds like a reverb, but we're not even using the reverb on the Galaxy here at all. Maybe we want to cut down on the feedback a little here. I think the feedback on the Brig is just fine. Maybe a little less mix. All right. And that's exactly what I'm looking for. All right, well, I have the blooper here. So let's add something fun to it. You can do this a number of ways. You could use a sampler like the, what is it, the Novation Circuit. Is it the Trax? I think it's the Trax. That one's a sampler. Anything, an SP404, Digitact, something like that, where you can trigger samples and kind of splice them up. Or you could use something like a granular delay to slice them up, but we're going to use the blooper. Any looper that can, I don't think there's many loopers that could do this, but if you're doing this all in software, you should be able to like get an analog delay or a Bucket Brigade delay and a tape delay in a DAW or something, and then like slice up your samples. But we want to slice up the samples, but we'll have the blooper do it, and I'll have you listen. So. And you want to play them in reverse, too, once we get that far. But, all right, let's start sampling. All right. I also have stability here, which adds a little bit of modulation. Let's actually listen to this by itself. See, we can go really broken. I keep it right around there. Okay, so the modulation on your looper is going to be optional, however you want to do it. But here's the most important part. So I have a random playback mode engaged on the second effect. And we can choose the randomness. This is completely random down here. And this is based on a pattern, so it's going to pick a pattern to chop it up to. From the right side, left side is completely random. So let's just make it completely random. This could be fun. And now we're going to engage reverse playback as well as random. All right. Sounds really weird by itself, but trust me, let's engage the two other pedals and you'll hear what I'm going for. And now's a good time to just mess with like your mixes and everything. I think we got the times just about right. We don't want it too overbearing. All right, so very, very lovely. I'm gonna stop the playback for right now. And now we're gonna worry about a pad, and I kind of want to add a pad to it, so you'll hear what this sounds like with a pad. So let's disengage everything. We'll use my Milky Way pad. So yeah, I think I'm just scanning a wavetable there. Actually, no, I'm changing the harmonics. So I have an LFO set to one of the, I think the spread on the harmonics. Anyway, let's go ahead and engage the Brig. And now let's engage the Galaxy. Absolutely gorgeous. All right, so let's go ahead and have our melody line play back here again, and then we'll add the pad and you'll hear what it sounds like. Mess with the randomness a little. And there we go. And that's what we can do with stacked both analog delays, technically, if you want to think about it like that. I mean, obviously, again, they're digital, but they're emulating analog delays. But we're going bucket brigade into a tape style delay. And then we're using chopped up samples, which the Blooper was doing pretty well. And I think it sounds absolutely fantastic. Just playing off of each other's strengths for the delay sounds, and then getting kind of like a little beating going from the difference in delay times. You'll just have to kind of sit there and listen to it and listen to what it sounds like. And depending on what kind of tempo you're playing at, kind of just want to match it up. I mean, you can even tap tempo in very similar times. You can like half tap tempo in the tape delay versus the analog delay or the bucket brigade delay, things like that. You can just use subdivisions too, but yeah, it sounds nice. You can nice because you can have one at like a dotted eighth. You can have one set at golden ratio if you have that kind of control. There's quite a few delays that actually have golden ratio as one of the primary like modes that you can tap in. I think the Source Audio Nemesis, if you use the control software, has that. The Pigtronics Echolution series of pedals, I think the 2 and the 3 both support that. Obviously, the Dig and the Brig kind of supports that because the multi-mode, one of the taps is always going to be golden ratio, and then you just kind of pair it with your second delay, which in this case would be a tape delay, and it sounds wonderful. You don't need a reverb at all, as you heard with that, because we have such a long K on the tape delay, and we're oversaturating it, so it kind of gives you a lot of diffusion through like the idea of tape saturation, and you get a wonderful stereo sound out of it. And yeah, that's kind of just what I wanted to share. That's how I stack multiple delays. It's kind of a revisit on that, and I hope you guys enjoyed that. And if you like these kind of videos, how about you give me a thumbs up, and how about you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already?